Write every day. That quote has been attributed to so many writers. Charlie Chaplin, Neil Gaiman, Ray Bradbury, just to name a few. It seems that writers throughout history believe that showing up consistently and putting words on the page is the secret to becoming a great writer. But writing is hard, and making excuses is easy. I'm tired, I'm busy, I already worked on other areas of my business or academics today, etc. These are all excuses that I have used in the past to not write. Aside from just excuses, there's some legitimately good reasons to not write too. Sometimes my lack of writing motivation would come from negative mental states that need attention. For instance, burnout, self-doubt, limiting beliefs about writing. In fact, identifying and overcoming imposter syndrome is the single best thing I did for my writing consistency ever. But even still, some days I just don't feel like writing. So how do we do it? How do we consistently show up and write something every day, even when it's hard, even when we're tired, and then also don't burn out from doing that? Well, I feel like I've cracked this code because for the past 2 months or so, I have been showing up at my office desk every single weekday at 7 a.m. and writing for 1 to 2 hours. I am actually personally blown away by how consistently I have been showing up. So how did I arrive at this point? Well, I've done some self-reflection, and I think it boils down to about 5 things. 1, trust the process. 2, find the right time and place. 3, start small and build the habit over time. 4, find an accountability partner to write with. And 5, have more than one project on the go. I'm going to go over each of those 5 things and how I use them to my advantage, but it's important to remember that all of that only came after I had identified and mostly resolved my imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and self-doubt. Developing self-compassion and self-confidence in themselves as a writer, I think, is the number one thing that every writer should focus on if they're struggling with consistency and feelings of self-doubt and burnout from their writing. So after you've resolved those things that discourage you from showing up consistently, then you can start self-reflecting on what encourages you to show up consistently. Here's what I came up with. 1, trust the process. If you show up consistently every single day and write, you are bound to get something done. Even if some days when you show up you don't feel like doing anything and so you just, download PDFs to remind yourself to read later, or even if you're a really slow writer and the ideas are really complex that you're dealing with, if you sit down every day or every weekday to get something done on your writing project, no matter how small, then logically, eventually, the work will get done. So once you've decided what that process is, stick to it. Trust that process. It's not going to get results immediately. A long-term writing project like a dissertation or a novel or a nonfiction book or what have you is a marathon, not a sprint. So if after the first day or week you don't really feel like this is working for you, you haven't gotten very far, don't quit. Don't try out a different process. Stick to that process. Unless that process is very clearly wrong and you can't do it and you hate it. But if you're just not seeing the output that you want and you think that changing the process is going to help you with that, then you're probably wrong at that point. Habits need time and momentum to build, and this goes for anything that you want to develop consistency with. Number 2, find the right time and place. Choose a place and time in which you can be consistent with your writing project. For me, that is 7 a.m. on weekdays. My partner doesn't get to work in our shared office space until 9 a.m., so that gives me a full 2 hours with the closed door, space to myself, everything else in the house is quiet, at my computer where I have all of the resources I need to write my project. And the only thing I would change about my current desk setup is that I would love it if I had the space to have a bookshelf next to me where I keep all my academic texts so that every time I need to refer back to something in another text, I don't have to run over to the living room to grab that text and thereby disrupting my writing process. Personally, I'm partial to the morning time. I love getting up early. It's a nice challenge for me and it's before everybody else is up. But for you, maybe that's late at night, maybe that's midday, I don't know. You would have to find the time and place that works for you to write. Number 3, start small and then build as you get comfortable. When I started daily weekday writing, I limited it to an hour. So I would get to my desk at 8 a.m. and I would work until 9 a.m. and I would do 2 25-minute sprints on the writing with 5-minute break in between. And by the end of that hour, I was pretty exhausted. My brain was pretty fried from having to come up with ideas for the past hour. But after, 2 weeks of that, I got comfortable and I felt like past the hour point, I could probably keep working. So I got up half an hour earlier. I started at 7:30 6:30. Then I was doing an hour and a half with 3 writing sprints. And then, of course, after a while, I got comfortable and I felt like I could go longer. And so right now I'm at a 2-hour time period where I wake up at 7 a.m. and I work until 9 a.m. So if you start writing consistently, but with a small goal or for a small time period, then you can slowly build that habit, gain momentum, gain self-confidence, gain focus. And then as you develop that consistency, you can start expanding that habit. Number 4. Find an accountability partner. At 7 a.m., I hop on Zoom and I meet up with a fellow PhD student writing their dissertation, and I love it. This gets me out of bed, it gets me excited to be at my desk because I get to talk to somebody that I like. So even if I'm not excited to do the PhD work, I am excited to get to my desk and open up my computer. And then that's like half the battle, right? Now I have to be really careful with this one because if my writing buddy can't show up one day, sometimes I'll take that opportunity to sleep in or to not get any work done that day, and that's not great. You shouldn't have your consistent writing schedule be dependent on another person, but having a writing buddy has helped me develop this habit, and once a habit is developed, it's so much easier to maintain than to build up from scratch. And finally, 5, have multiple projects on the go. This point may seem counterintuitive. In fact, I think that a lot of PhD students would tell you the opposite advice about writing. And I definitely think you should practice saying no to other opportunities when you're like really in crunch time for your big writing project. But again, a big writing project like a dissertation or a book is a marathon, not a sprint. So you can't be just like setting your entire life aside for your entire life so that you can write books. And having other hobbies on the go that don't affect my ability to focus on my dissertation when I need to has actually helped me resist burnout and maintain my writing habit. Right now, I'm writing a sci-fi novel in the evenings, and that is just pure fun writing for me. It makes me feel happy and confident and excited to be a writer. And engaging in that kind of positive identity building activity really helps me get through the potentially tough times that I might have as a writer. I am also right now training for a half marathon. Having that goal has helped me also identify as a runner. So having hobbies, especially ones that enhance your ability to write and ones that help you feel good about yourself, can really prevent burnout and fear and self-doubt. I have really been trying over the past year to develop an identity for myself that doesn't end at the PhD, and I've integrated daily activities into my life that bring me a sense of accomplishment and joy. And those things help ensure that I have a healthy relationship to my PhD writing. So those are the 5 things that I have noticed really help me keep my writing habit consistent and avoid burnout. Of course, what works for me will not necessarily work for you. In fact, in James Clear's book, The Power of Habit, he tells us that different personality types will require different behaviors to help them build a habit. For instance, I am super extroverted, so having an accountability partner to write with really helps me. But for somebody that's not as extroverted as me, it could be that having to meet up with somebody else to write could actually be a source of stress and deter them from writing consistently. Admittedly, I haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear yet, but I've heard about it all over the internet, so I'm definitely going to pick it up. And I have already read the 1-page summary of it on short form, so I already know that a lot of what James Clear talks about in that book, I am personally applying to my current formation of a writing habit. And if you want access to really well curated book summaries and analyses, like the one for Atomic Habits, then you can click my affiliate link below and get 20% off an annual subscription to Shortform. That really helps me and my channel, and hopefully you, because these book summaries are really phenomenal. The one for Atomic Habits actually goes way beyond just summarizing the book. It also integrates lessons from psychologists and other books to inform your reading of Atomic Habits. Anyway, that's the video. If you take one thing away from this video, I would love it to be just the idea of self-reflection in general for improving your own productivity strategies. Now that I know these 5 things are necessary for me to maintain a habit and to avoid burnout, I can always come back to this list and I can apply those things to future habits that I want to form. If you've made it this far in the video, then I highly encourage you to take a moment right now and write down a couple things that help you stay on track with your writing and show up consistently. And if you do that, I would love to hear what they are below, because I can always learn from other people, and maybe we can help each other find new ways to stay accountable to our writing projects. See you in another video soon.